these stories keep coming up from like American government officials in like Havana or China or whatever, where they like stay in their hotel room and then they get like overcome with nausea or like migraines or something like that. And I mean, the most obvious explanation for that is that the communists have developed some sort of invisible ray gun that cooks the brains of American government officials. And a friend of mine just described this to me as Morgellons for NatSec people, and that's exactly what this is.
Yes.
There's a funny article in the New York Times covering this. It says here, this is just from today. It says, mysterious ailments are said to be more widespread among U.S. personnel. The Biden administration has begun more aggressively investigating episodes that left spies, diplomats, soldiers, and others with brain injuries. Mysterious episodes that cause brain injuries in spies, diplomats, soldiers, and other U.S. personnel overseas starting 5 years ago now number more than 130 people, far more than previously known, according to current and former officials. The number of cases within the CIA, the State Department, and Defense Department, and elsewhere spurred broad concern in the Biden administration. The initial policy publicly confirmed cases were concentrated in China and Cuba and numbered about 60, not including a group of injured CIA officers whose total is not yet public. I mean, I have to say, like, this is one of those things that is 1,000% bullshit, but I kind of wish it was true. Because if our CIA ops are getting their brains melted by invisible ray gun radiation by Cuban and Chinese spies, I got to say, all in the game.
Yeah. Especially since this is apparently a technology that no one can explain how would work.
It's like Theranos.
It would be like future shit. It would be like a weapon from Tenet that got sent back in time.
makes more sense than that bullshit. I'll tell you that much. All right, so just a little more from this article here. It says, since December, at least 3 CIA officers have reported serious health effects from episodes overseas.
Their imposter syndrome was flaring up again.
I think that this whole thing is a big, like, foreign posted CIA agents, I shouldn't be alone right now message that just got way out of control.
Yeah, absolutely. One occurred within the past 2 weeks, and all have required the officers undergo outpatient treatment at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center or other facilities. And in one case in 2019 that has not previously been reported, a military officer serving overseas pulled his vehicle into an intersection, then was overcome by nausea and headaches, according to 4 current and former officials briefed on the events. His 2-year-old son sitting in the back seat began crying. After the officer pulled away from the intersection, his nausea stopped and the child stopped crying. Well, I mean, I don't know what more evidence you need. This is invisible death rays, clearly. I mean, I can't think of any other thing that would account for feeling having a headache or being nauseous in traffic or having a 2-year-old child cry in a car.
We need to know more information about this case, though, before I take them seriously with their theory. Did this agent cross any Roma people in any way before this happened? We don't know.
Yeah, no.
Is he perhaps getting thinner in any way?
Yeah. Wait, one such case, a CIA case officer lost dramatically 300 pounds in a week. Now, the guy driving that car, it doesn't say where he was overseas, but it was in Romania, and he just ran over an old lady at the last intersection.
Yep.
Agents are reporting sightings of a large shack with chicken legs following them through the woods.
So there's one more really hilarious detail in this New York Times piece here. It says, the CIA has also cut the average wait time for injured officers at Walter Reed. It was up to 8 weeks at the end of last year and is now less than 2. So that's good. I mean, like they're getting people taken care of. That's important. But here, check this out. Displayed in Walter Reed is a painting by a CIA officer injured in one of the overseas episodes. The painting is
it's just a black ring circled over and over and over on a white piece of paper.
Chris, you're joking, but listen to this. The painting is a black canvas with a red splatter. CIA personnel being treated at Walter Reed have called it the gunshot. It signified his feeling that we all wished we had been shot, a visible injury, so our colleagues would more readily believe us, said Mark Polymeropoulos, a former CIA officer who was hurt in Moscow. But also, what a shitty painting. Really I mean, I understand it's like, art therapy or whatever, and you just got to put it on the CIA refrigerator because you're like, that's nice. But they're like, yeah, it's a black canvas with a big red splatter in the middle of it. we think it signifies being shot.
I'm just imagining like all the old school, like real hard bitten CIA guys, like the Dulles brothers or Angleton, getting reports that their field officers are like, my head hurts. I have a tummy ache.
Well, the thing is, those guys were all miserably sick, but that's because they destroyed their bodies with an inhuman amount of alcohol when they weren't all dosing each other with LSD as a prank. And now they're like, oh no, I'm struggling.
Yeah. CIA officer.
My tactically induced chronic Lyme is acting up.
CIA officers overseas report feeling symptoms of chills, shakiness, nausea when not being deprived of alcohol for over 6 hours. So there we go.
Would not serve their ration to 4 tabs a day.
All right. Well, moving on. There's another story from the New York Times this week I want to talk about. This is a this is a topic we've discussed before. I think it's like probably my favorite current ongoing story. I'm referring, of course, to the host of sympathetic ailments suffered by the strivers in our State Department and CIA that is now referred to as Havana syndrome. Havana syndrome. This is a serious issue that more and more people are talking about, and the government is getting more and more concerned in figuring out just what the hell is going on. Now, I love this story because I don't know who said this, but it's 100% true. The Havana syndrome is the cop who touches fentanyl and ODs story for deep state operatives.
Yeah. Everyone has one. It's just like everything else. Everyone has their own ridiculous thing that they do that is a mere image of itself.
And like the fentanyl OD stories are like every bit as spurious. And like I said, like I love this New York Times story just because of like it basically says like in the first paragraph that like despite the best efforts of every single person who's investigated this, they're like there's actually no evidence of this happening, or like at least not microwave radiation being the cause of it. But the article then goes on to take all of it like very seriously. So let's just take a look at this article. Headline: Mystery attacks on diplomats leave scores of victims, but still little evidence. While the leading theory in the Havana syndrome cases is directed microwave attacks, a classified session for senior government officials said months of investigation were inconclusive. Okay, so like that's the headline. And then the article is going to go on to treat this as anything other than inconclusive, or just like, okay, well, if everyone has looked into this and they found no evidence to suggest that our diplomats are getting shot with invisible microwave lasers, you'd think that they would have a little bit more skepticism. But you know what? Like when these people whine, the New York Times listens because, that's how it works. It says here, President Biden's top aides were told on Friday that experts studying the mysterious illness affecting scores of diplomats, spies, and their family members were still struggling to find evidence to back up the leading theory that microwave attacks are being launched by Russian agents. The report came in an unusual classified meeting called by the Director of National Intelligence, Avril D. Haines, according to several senior administration officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity. The purpose of the meeting was to assess the investigations and efforts to treat victims of the so-called Havana syndrome, the unexplained headaches, dizziness, and memory loss reported by scores of State Department officials, CIA officers, and their families. I mean, like, I don't know. Do you think there's a simpler explanation for why scores of CIA operatives and their families feel bad all the time?
There is, yeah. I think that's the next thing is just like people in the security apparatus, whether they're local cops or CIA operatives, experiencing symptoms of depression or just panic attacks and blaming either fentanyl or Cuban microwave technology.
Yeah, no one can accept that maybe the thing you're doing every day to make the world worse is also making you kind of sad. Nope. There's a Russian space laser, and honestly, same thing with the electoral meddling theory. If the Russians are not only able to use Facebook ads to seize the presidency of the United States, but they can create a machine that has no scientific basis, apparently.
Yeah.
Then we should just surrender to them.
Yeah.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
I mean, even if this was real and they were doing this, like, I wouldn't feel bad about them. Don't go there.
Not.
Don't go there. You're only going there to do bad stuff. Like no, I'll be. If they actually had this and they were shooting it at you and they were giving you chronic Lyme disease, I'd be like, yeah, good.
Yes. No, I like because like at no point in any of these accounts of like, you hear like, Russia has a secret microwave laser that they're using to cook the brains of our spies in Havana. Well, it's like at no point, like when I hear that headline, I'm immediately getting excited because I'm thinking of the scene in Scanners where the guy's head explodes, and it's like no, like they have a laser that makes you feel like I don't know, like itchy, tired, mild memory loss, slight nausea, like weeks after you reportedly were encountered with it. It's just like, well, I mean, that's not a very good fucking assassination device or, piece of counter espionage or whatever. And two, it's like, how bad can I feel for the people involved here when these are the fucking symptoms? I
mean, it is funny to think that they spent like, I would estimate the cost of like developing and maintaining this weapon would be like $2 or $3 trillion. Spending $2 or $3 trillion on like a special death ray that only gives you mild depression and diarrhea.
It gives you an upset tummy for an evening.
Yeah. That would be, I mean, I'd like to see it.
No, but
again, I hope they actually did it. Go to Cuba in order to smuggle genetically altered cane toads into their sugar fields to destroy their crops. And for my efforts, I get to feel itchy and have a hard time falling asleep.
Yeah,
this is not justice.
You should
be happy that's all you walked away with.
You got off light.
Yeah.
And Matt, to your point, like, I mean, this gets more apparent as the story goes on, but like exactly like the fucking Navy UFO disclosures. Like, if this is Russian technology that has no technological or scientific basis that anyone can discern because it's like literally physically impossible, and they have it and we don't, then fuck it. They won. I mean, like, shit. Like,
well, I hope this is like the basis for a war. I hope it like it like takes nukes out of the equation, because then I would be like Solid Snake. They'd be like, you're the one man who's like had the most like ambient sort of bad feeling and most diarrhea. Who's of military age. You have to go over there.
You have an immunity.
To face the diarrhea ray.
Listen to this, though. It says, this is a top priority for the intelligence community, he said. This is Timothy Barrett, Assistant Director of National Intelligence.
We got nothing else going on.
Yeah, this is a top priority for the intelligence community.
Slow day at work. We couldn't win the big game in Venezuela.
I mean, honestly, like that fentanyl mostly sells itself at this point. You don't have to do a lot there.
I mean,
we've lost every big game except for fentanyl sales. None of our viral posts are really hidden anymore.
I mean, the Cuba protests have gone away. No one's those literally they're not happening anymore. No one gives a shit. Israel isn't bombing Gaza anymore, so anti-Semitism ceased to be the top threat to the world and America. That's gone away. Okay, what do we got here? Oh, yeah, the microwave radiation. Listen to this. It says here, and we are supporting an NSC-led effort to get answers, take care of our people, and prevent future incidents. The meeting included Secretary of State Anthony J. Blinken, Attorney General Merrick B. Garland, the CIA Director William J. Burns, and the FBI Director Christopher A. Wray. Those are like four of the most powerful people in our government having a special meeting about this made-up nonsense.
I can't imagine anything else that Merrill Grantland should be doing. I mean, it's not like the Biden's voters have been complaining about the main thing, voter suppression at all. I mean, like, at least just fucking drop the case against NBA YoungBoy. Do something.
I do love
he's doing this
science, and meanwhile, we have like all of our top deep state demons coming together to like talk about Operator Morgellons.
Yeah.
The high-ranking nature of the session was an indication of how quickly the attacks, which date to 2016, have risen from a medical mystery to an urgent national security issue. Mm-hmm. Biden administration officials say they were shocked at how disorganized the government response was over the past 4 years, in part because there was no central way for departments to share reports of the episodes, and because many of the targets were intelligence officers whose identities and locations could not be revealed. I mean, I think like the main clearinghouse for these information were just like Facebook groups from like the wives of CIA guys. They're
That's like saying
It's like Mum's Net for these people,
Yeah.
and this is their central warehouse of data.
That is like saying that the CIA can't find the boogeyman because of how convoluted government procurement is. We're not communicating well enough to look under the bed at the right time.
Under the Trump administration, NORAD has let their Santa their Santa tracking program go to shit. We have no idea what he's up to.
Ever since 2018, like the CIA has lost track of Slender Man. He could be anywhere. It's really scary.
So a December 2020 study of the causes by the National Academy of Sciences concluded that microwave attacks were the most likely the cause.
Mm-hmm.
But Biden administration officials say the group had no access to classified information.
Yeah, because they're
what classified
crackheads.
information? Yeah.
They
Yes.
I mean, like, I don't really care one way or the other. I hope this causes like a deep state war between like everything QAnon talked about, where there was like a firefight in Germany where Gina Haspel was killed.
Yeah.
I hope that actually happens between like the part of the CIA that's like, no, you guys are stupid. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then like the elder millennial CIA people who are like, no, I have chronic fatigue syndrome from the Cuban microwave. It's all gonna actually happen.
I like the idea that like these are millennial spooks who are just like, I'm tired, and like coming up with bogus diseases to get out of doing work.
Yeah,
I have the microwave syndrome. I can't come in today.
That's the next Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's about like a plucky CIA officer who wants to like go to an Alanis Morissette concert, but he like they're like, no, we need you to fucking like blow up a Houthi kindergarten, and he's like, I've come down with microwave fatigue.
At the meeting called by Ms. Haynes on Friday, the expert groups reported that the leading theory remained that microwave beams were aimed at government buildings and residences, either as a part of an espionage effort or as a deliberate attempt to hit American officials with a debilitating, invisible, and hard-to-trace weapon. It's just like...
I'm sorry, that can't be the leading theory because the device does not exist.
And by the way, at no point in this article did the New York Times seek comment from anyone who is an expert in the field of microwave emissions or radiation.
It is exactly like the cop fentanyl thing. Like they'll say, "Oh, this cop looked at fentanyl and he fucking had a overdose," and then doctors will just say, "You can't, that's impossible," and it just doesn't even enter into the fucking discussion at all. That it's literally there is no known method for that to happen. Like there is no known technological way to make this happen.
I mean, yeah, this I
have a lung illness from fumes from the infinite candy machine. Can you please research this?
I mean, I like the theory offered by our good friend Dan Kay, who's like every cop that ODs on fentanyl just did a line just to see what it would be like, and then it's just their friends covering for them, be like, "Oh, he was exposed to it by accident. They did a cheeky little bump and then fell out, and then they were like, oh no, well fuck." It says here. It is possible that this began as an espionage effort that turned into a stealthy means of attack, one former official one official familiar with the investigation said. The official noted that microwave technology had been used over the years by American adversaries to try to recreate documents by detecting the emissions of typewriters and then computer keyboards, and later to pick up cell phone communications. But the frustrating part is that there is still no definitive conclusion, the official said, that would enable the president to call out the Russians the way he has with cyber attacks. So like they're just having these like fucking like top level classified meetings with the head of the CIA, the head of the FBI, the head of the Justice Department, and like the head of the National Security Council. So they're like, we need to find an excuse believable enough to like blame Russia for this shit.
And I like the comparison to the cyber attacks, because apparently when they saw each other at the G7, Biden told Putin what technological infrastructure was off limits to cyber attacks, which is pretty funny when you think about it. But I like that he's got these guys in the CIA who are telling the White House that Biden needs to sit down with Putin and say, okay, the following agents are off limits for making them sad with a robot. You cannot use microwaves to make the following people sad. Below that, yes, but nobody above this level you can make sad with an X-ray machine.
I mean, like, if you are a CIA deep state ghoul and operative, like, doesn't this shit embarrass you? Like, I mean, like, during the Cold War, like, if you were, like, in East Germany or something, they would just, like, capture you, torture you, and then, like, put your body in a fucking, like, in a fucking kiln and turn you into dust, and no one would ever hear from you again. And now it's like their covert death weapon is just basically like a YouTube prank, social experiment, making CIA agents like have diarrhea. You know what I mean? And like, and then now you have to complain about this publicly. I mean, like, even if you believe this were true, like, isn't there something to be said for putting up a sort of a, I don't know, a stoic front? Yeah. Especially when these stakes we're talking about are just literally like mild irritation and depression.
Yeah. It's the last real weapon we have, though, is one. Yeah. That's it. It's the only strategic.
You would not see Ted Shackley do this. You would not see Edwin P. Wilson do this. Edwin P. Wilson would have been like, oh, you gave me chronic fatigue with a microwave? I'm going to go get another bag. Going to make another few million selling Semtex to Libyans.
Fact is that when these guys felt like this, they could just say, "Oh, right, DTs. I haven't had a martini in 3 hours."
Exactly.
Well, maybe they've always had this, and the only cure is to drink like 2 liters of liquor a day.
That's right.
Yeah, they need to become alcoholics again.
Yeah, and like the Russians and the Cubans were like just blasting Angleton's house with X-rays, and they're like, "What the fuck? It's like not doing anything."
It's like, oh shit, he's in there giving Kim Philby a pony ride, and they don't mind at all. It's like, oh, that's because they were pickled in gin.
Yeah. Just like stay well lubricated with like 3 quarts of scotch a day. The microwave rays don't work.
Now, the new type of person in the CIA is the person who's like, sign that I'm officially 30. I have 2 beers and I had a headache. It's like, drink more, you fucking pussy.
Yeah, shut up and drink.
Yeah, you want to stand up to the Russians? You want to defend democracy from like Facebook ads? Fucking grab that gin, pussy.
Yep. No craft beers.
That's like their
clear or brown alcohol only.
Their biggest indulgence is like craft beers and like a chopped Creative Salad Company salad. That's not protecting you from X-rays. Like liquor is from the earth. It's the only natural protection against X-rays.
I like his.
That's why the TSA doesn't let you be drunk in line because they want to kill you with X-rays. They fear the drunk American.
I like here. If you go further into the article, though, and it goes on and on, but it just says here. At some point, it just says some officials suspect that along with Russia, Iran may be responsible for some attacks, but there is also focus on Cuba, China, and other nations. So it's like, okay, we've narrowed down the list of suspects here. So not only do we not know how these supposed invisible weapons exist, we don't even know what country is responsible, but we're pretty sure it's probably Russia, Iran, China, and various other nations. Just fill it in there yourself. They all have access to this secret technology.
So they all work together on like the only weapon of its type to ever exist, and there were no leaks ever. There were no reports about it. There was nothing about this like in the CIA. They weren't like, oh yeah, we forgot. They developed a secret like death depression weapon. And they all, China, Russia, Iran, and Cuba all work together over the course of, this would presumably take like 30 years. No one heard anything about it, ever.
Yeah,
no defector said anything, nothing.
Yeah, and the idea that like some super secret deadly weapon was developed for the purpose of assassination that like the CIA didn't have a hand in funding or using at some point, even if our ostensible enemies were also using it.
Yeah, this is like, to believe them, this is like, you would find like the death ray weapon, the one of one, the only one of its kind that exists, the like theoretical energy weapon that everyone's been trying to create and can't. You'd find it in like a locker on Storage Wars. Just lying around. Everyone just has one lying around. Everyone but us. We don't have one. We have no capability of like giving the Iranians depression.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like it's so funny because, when you think invisible microwave ray, you obviously think death ray, like cool sci-fi shit. And this is not even anywhere within 1,000 miles of that. Within 8,000 miles.
They probably saw like an interview with like some shitty comedian where he's like, I wouldn't wish depression on my worst enemy. But then they're like, oh, but I would. Start the research.
Just closing out this article here, it says, speaking for the White House, a senior administration official said the National Security Council was leveraging a broad array of scientific and medical expertise from within the government and outside of it to explore multiple hypotheses and generate new insights into the episodes to protect our personnel and identify who or what is responsible. One element of that effort, officials say, is to develop portable sensors that could be widely distributed to detect attacks. But I mean, like, just think about all the people who are going to now make money selling a fucking like a hokum cure to detect the invisible microwave radiation that nobody can prove even exists in the first place.
This is Jim Baker apocalypse buckets for fucking NatSec libs. You know what? Go crazy. You know, buy all the repurposed Ghost Hunters equipment. I don't give a shit.
It says, but it is hard to ensure that the sensors will work, one official said, without any certainty that the microwaves are the cause of the unexplained illnesses. And even if they are the cause, the sensors would have to be able to pick up signals across a large part of the electromagnetic spectrum. Well, don't let that stop you. Invest now in spurious microwave death ray sensor technology. Protect yourself and your family on any overseas trip. No longer just for CIA operatives. It is available to any American traveler.
We got to get in on that. You need to invest because they're going to end up like mandating one of those things in every embassy in the world. And then in all the airports, it's like as useful as a fucking as an X-ray machine.
Once these
and probably costs like 5 times as much. Got to get in on that.
Once these hit the consumer market, I'm downloading Nextdoor again because I want to see like in like upper middle class neighborhoods, people are going to accuse each other of shooting X-rays at each other.
Oh my god, yes.
Like that's the next thing. That's the next like homeowners association thing. If you live in like a solidly blue like suburban county, everyone is going to be accusing each other of this.
Oh God, yes.
Oh my God, yeah, that is, it's just another thing to whine about, another thing that doesn't exist. But it doesn't exist, but it provides a very handy explanation for why you are miserable all the time. And by the way, it's your neighbors doing it to you.
Yeah.
Oh man,
this is the perfect thing for us.
Yeah, you're right.
This is exactly what we need.
Havana syndrome is the perfect made up bullshit for contemporary Americans to be afraid of. I mean, that's why, like I said, the head of the FBI and the CIA are having like top level meetings about this bullshit because it's so perfect. It's so perfect. It is so us. It is so America in 2021.
This is us.
This is us.
This is us.
This is us. God damn. Because we had a brief period of feeling good about the news after the Biden Afghanistan pullout, but right back reverting to form. Everything sucks. Everything's horrible. And I would just like to start today's episode with what I think is absolutely the most telling and perfect encapsulation of everything about American politics and what it is and stands for. I will just begin here. Headline, New York Times. The House passes a bill to provide care for U.S. officials suffering from Havana syndrome. So, I mean, like, I don't know if you've been following it this week, but it's just basically like the Democrats announced today that they're open to means testing virtually everything in the reconciliation budget bill that's good or worthwhile. So, like, that's just basically going to get whittled away to nothing. But wouldn't you know it, last week, the Havana Syndrome Relief Act passed both the House and Senate without a single no vote.
Yeah, no, this is I do think it's like narratively interesting that they're getting a psychic disease, like a disease that they're clearly they're imagining this.
Yeah.
This is like college educated people who like feel bad about what they do, but will never like directly confront it. And their bodies are like killing them.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that's like a bad thing. It's not. But they instantly get it. And really the only way, because, with everything else going on, the dental expansion for seniors in Medicare, they already scrapped fucking vision, but that is not going to be implemented in 8 years. So my advice to everyone who's struggling is we need to campaign for something like a Life of Others type setup where we're all working for the CIA. Because you can just say whatever.
I mean,
Like I have a hangover. They tried to kill me. I feel bad. Like I on some level think I like deserve to die. Like I should kill myself every day, and I'm right. And it gave me a headache.
I mean, like
you need to give me more health care. Okay.
I would be down with treating the Havana syndrome for these people. They can have just a ration of vodka every day. Handle your guilt the way that the old school CIA guys did. Just drink yourself into oblivion and convince yourself that your wife is a spy.
Yeah.
This is such a fucking insult to every human being who's alive on the planet. It's like the time in which this bill was written to being passed and on Joe Biden's desk was probably 12 hours to cover the health problems caused by a completely imaginary make-believe illness suffered by at most 12 people.
And if it was real, if there was a sonic ray that was like giving them diarrhea, like good.
Yeah.
No one deserves it more.
These people are demons anyway.
Yeah. And it's just like every single utterly insufficient, meager, threadbare measure to provide health care for anyone or reduce the price of prescription drugs by like a nickel has been shit canned from this bill from like Democratic senators who got, I don't know, $5,000 from a pharmaceutical company for their reelection campaign. That's how much it costs. And okay, I just want to read from the New York Times here. It says, the House unanimously passed a bill Tuesday authorizing additional support for U.S. officials who were injured in a series of mysterious episodes that caused traumatic brain injuries. I mean, do they has a doctor confirmed any of these traumatic brain injuries? Wouldn't that show up on like a fucking CAT scan or something? The Senate first passed the legislation pushed by Senator Susan Collins, Republican of Maine, on June 7th. Because the House voted on that version of the bill, it will now go to President Biden to sign. Passage comes after a number of incidents continues to grow. A CIA officer traveling in India with William J. Burns, the agency director, was injured earlier this month, exhibiting symptoms of the so-called Havana syndrome. The incidents could be attacks by hostile intelligence services, but the United States has not drawn a conclusion about what the precise cause is and who is responsible. I mean, if only we were able to draw precise conclusions about why Americans are dying from lack of medical care, maybe we could pass a fucking bill on that. But no, it's the CIA director had a tummy ache on his recent trip to India. And like I said, not a single no vote on the Havana syndrome relief bill. Not a single no vote.
Way to fight the deep state.
Not even Thomas Massey, who did only Republican to vote against the Iron Dome thing. Even he's like, they need this. This is important.
It says here.
I mean, what is it even going to be? What is this money going to go to?
I mean, like I believe that, like, okay, yeah, that's a good question. Like, what exactly is this relief going to go to?
An adult Montessori school.
Yeah, no,
that's the only thing you could do for this, for like an imaginary, like a yarn ballroom.
I think that the Havana syndrome and efforts to combat it are basically just like a double-blind effort by various factions within the intelligence community and deep state to just shift money around in different ways to like do other things and just consolidate power in other
give
ways.
Everybody in the CIA a Kong filled with peanut butter and Valium.
I do feel like maybe the way this started is like one guy just wanted to get like codeine cough syrup. He wanted to get like Perk 30s or like Opana, something they don't make anymore. And was like, oh, I've been hit by a psychic attack. And then it just like got out of hand because everyone else wanted attention.
It says here, officials believe that more than 200 people. Wow. We've given healthcare to 200 people in America. Awesome. 200 people could have been injured in episodes, while microwave devices or other directed energy equipment are a possible cause. Administration and congressional officials have not determined the source of the injuries, which were first observed in Cuba and have come to be known as Havana syndrome. Check this out. The number is going up all the time, said Representative Adam Schiff.
No way.
The number is going up all the time, said Representative Adam Schiff, Democrat of California and chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, in an interview this summer. From the descriptions that I've heard firsthand from some of the victims, they seem quite purposeful, quite deliberate, and very specific, Mr. Schiff said. And that's suggestive of a foreign bad actor. Foreign bad actor? Are we talking the FSB or Roberto Benigni, folks? Yeah, the cases are skyrocketing. 200 Americans desperately need this relief. And you know what? If people in America are suffering and need medical care, or they just need help, like, our government will fucking make that happen. They will move heaven and earth to just get it done. But
Has anyone been hospitalized for this?
I don't know, because you'd think if they've been hospitalized, you could like measure the effects of this disease on their. They could actually show the brain injuries that these people are claiming to have.
It would rule though to be a CIA scumbag, go on a foreign mission, come home with like fucking sores all over your dick, and tell your wife you got hit with a ray gun, and then get the government to pay for your fucking Valtrex.
Look, they put all these microchips in my pubic hairs. They have little legs on them.
Look at all these nanobugs crawling all over me.
Look, this thing right above my lip, that's where they injected me with a surveillance device.
So yeah, it says for far too many Havana syndrome victims have had to battle the bureaucracy to receive care for their debilitating injuries, she said in a statement. By the way, if you need insulin as an American, you're shit out of luck. The bureaucracies that govern the fact that an insulin dose costs $700. We're not going to do anything about that. But let's talk about the unseen, the silent victims of Havana syndrome.
That is one of the most upsetting things about it. Like, these people already have healthcare.
Yes.
Like, they're decently paid government employees on the federal level.
They need
like
the doctors though oppress them by asking them for any evidence that anything is wrong with them.
No. I mean, that's why no one's like been fucking hospitalized for this. Or else there would be, if there was any doctor in the fucking world who is like, you need to be in the ICU for this, there would be video of it plastered everywhere. But no one, not even like there are doctors who are probably like mob doctors for the CIA. Even they're like, what are you talking about? Like, you're hungover. Shut up.
This is Susan Collins talking, by the way. She says, for those victims, the Havana Act will ensure they receive the financial and medical support that they deserve. They deserve no financial or medical support at all from anyone.
They should actually be in prison.
Yeah.
To look better. They got exposed to too much sun in Havana. That's their problem.
It also affirms our commitment to making sure that our government finds out who is responsible. And then just at the end here, like this last quote sums everything up from this New York Times article. It says here, this is Mr. Schiff talking. He says, we want to make sure that everybody that's been impacted by these anomalous incidents gets the health care that they need, he said. So we want it to be broadly interpreted. These same fucking cocksuckers are blocking any health care for anyone who's not in the CIA. Any real medical problem that like people are dying of fucking insulin shock because Joe Manchin's daughter colluded to jack up the price. Are we going to do anything about that? Nope. We're going to make sure we're going to craft the broadest, most generous healthcare bill imaginable for the imaginary ailments of 20 people.
Lanyard Morgellons.
Fucking hey, Jesus Christ!
They're dabbing on us. That's all there is to be said.
That is the thing. Like, in reality, this is like another victory by the CIA, because they get to like they get to make up an illness and get money for it. But if this is going how they say it is, the CIA is taking like no rings lately. They can't even make the playoffs. Serbs rolling into Kosovo, Afghanistan. They can't knock over Maduro. They can't knock over Mossad. 0 rings. They need a super team to win. They're all crippled with a mysterious sound wave injury that even the greatest surveillance network in the history of humanity, unimaginable 50 years ago, can't even tell us what it is.
If only we could get to the bottom of who's behind the cost of prescription drugs or health insurance in this country. Is there a way to figure that out?
That is, I think, the same thing with this. Because like this is obviously bullshit, and we're never going to find out who did this because no one was doing anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not
but
real.
it's like the same thing. It's the same thing I think with like January 6th or like supposed Russian collusion. Okay, why did we need the NSA that bad then?
Yeah.
it seems like there are always balls getting into the goal. Seems like there are always these unforecastable circumstances that happen, and with this, we don't even know who would be doing it.
This is the first story I want to talk about today. NBC News: CIA says Havana syndrome not result of sustained campaign by hostile power.
What?
Okay,
No.
like now I believe in Havana syndrome. But okay, like this is interesting because this is an NBC News article written by Ken Delanian, who I know we've covered on the show before, and he is a little CIA media catspaw. He's
Right.
like he's their mouthpiece in like national security reporting or like any reporting about the CIA. He's their go-to guy. So I'm just gonna read like the beginning of this article here. It says, in a new intelligence assessment, the CIA has ruled out that the mysterious symptoms known as Havana syndrome are the result of a sustained global campaign by a hostile power aimed at hundreds of U.S. diplomats and spies. 6 people briefed on the matter told NBC News. In about 24 cases, the agency cannot rule out foreign involvement, including many of the cases that originated at the U.S. Embassy in Havana beginning in 2016. Another group of cases is considered unresolved, but in hundreds of other cases of possible symptoms, the agency has found plausible alternative explanations.
Like
Sources-
crickets, which is apparently most of them.
The CIA declined to comment. The idea that widespread brain injury symptoms have been caused by Russia or another foreign power targeting Americans around the world, either to harm them or to collect intelligence, has been deemed unfounded, the sources said. People who have experienced possible Havana syndrome symptoms and have been briefed on the assessment have expressed deep disappointment, the sources said. Some have pointed out that the CIA's finding are considered an interim assessment and that they were not coordinated with other agencies, including the Defense Department. CIA just kind of struck out on their own, a person briefed on the findings said. In a statement, a group that represents U.S. officials who have been reported suspected incidents said the CIA's newly issued report may be labeled interim and it may leave open the door for some alternative explanation in some cases. But to scores of dedicated public servants, their families, and their colleagues, it has a ring of finality and repudiation.
Oh my
So-
God, their lived experience is being discarded.
Okay, so there's a couple things to talk about here. Like, what do you think is going on here? That like the CIA through their approved media mouthpiece is saying, yeah, this is bullshit. We got nothing on it. They're making it up.
Well,
I mean, they didn't say they're making it up, but they said like the idea that is the sci-fi weapons of which there's no evidence for ever existing are being used to like cook the
right.
brains.
Which is
of,
the thing we already knew. I
Yeah.
mean, like that's the deal. Like this was
So, like,
not anything.
why
that
do
could
you
have been
think,
said
though,
at
like,
any
let me-
point for the last couple of years?
I have my theory, but let me ask you guys, like, why do you think the CIA is giving up the ghost on Havana syndrome? And the CIA specifically, because, like, as alluded to in the article, like, these other intelligence agencies feel like they're left out in the cold, and they're like, oh, all our employees, like, we stand with Havana syndrome sufferers.
My first guess is because, I mean, anyone could have said as soon as they validated it and say this is a real thing and people are getting it, everyone could have said, oh, that means more people are going to say they have it. And
Yeah.
then that's exactly what happened. And maybe they got to the point where like nobody was even answering the phone.
Exactly.
Because everybody was
Exactly.
in their awful condos in Tyson
Yes.
Corner rolling around.
No,
going,
no,
I got there.
Matt,
syndrome."
tell me yours. You hit the nail on the head, and we didn't talk about this before, but like I think what's really going on here is essentially the same thing as like Biden and the CDC being like, yeah, if you feel, just stay home for the weekend, but come to work on Monday, it's
Right, yeah.
fine. Like, you know, you don't need to quarantine for 2 weeks anymore.
Right, yeah.
Like, just get back to work.
Yep.
Got to get back to work. Got to get people back in the offices.
Yep.
And I think this is the CIA's version of that. Like, they're trying to start a war with Russia right now.
Right.
And all their employees are like, I have Havana syndrome. I need to work remote. I need to stay home. I can't go into I can't go into the PsyOps department at Langley anymore because
Yeah.
it's just I'm scared of the radiation that's everywhere. They're all like Michael McKean and Better Call Saul. So I think the CIA being
Yeah.
like, enough of this bullshit. You got to come into the office. You got to get back to work. We're going to war with Russia.
Yeah, I haven't been able to get in touch with my handler in like 3 months, and they always just have the going away message, and it's just about having the courage to live your truth. And it's like that's not good.
I have sympathy for them. You know, as a great man once said, work sucks, I know. But like there's a religion where you seem to get a bunch of 3-day weekends that you could convert to. You don't have to pretend to be sick. Look at what you did. You annoyed everyone. You annoyed everyone so much to the point that they're having to use the news like an intercompany newsletter.
Look how
that's why
annoying
Ken
you're being.
Delanian has the byline on this piece. So
Literally, yeah. No, he's like the head of HR.
It's like, all right, everybody, come on.
And you could have just been Jewish.
Take some Pedialyte and get back to work.
Yeah, you could have just been Jewish, and you could have been like, "Oh, I have Sukkot, like I can't come to work."
And you would have had the
everyone
exact
been like, "Okay."
same number of health conditions and strange maladies that you would take you out of work too.
Dude, we love taking medicine. Okay, you could have taken all the medicine you wanted, but you had to irritate everyone in the world. Like the guy, there's like a bald guy who like this is like trite by now, but like he does literally just look like a soy jack. And his thing was being like the Aaron Brockovich of Havana syndrome in the CIA, and they're like, no, it's a cover up. They're not admitting that we have it, and it's like, how do you keep doing that after Congress unanimously passes a law saying that your fake illness is real?
That's the other thing. It's like they already got the money.
yeah, they already got the healthcare.
Healthcare. Hey, this MRI spends good no matter what.
I think it's the same thing with like commercial real estate. Langley is just like, we have this big ass building, and all these fucking all our bitch ass employees are just like, I can't leave the house. I need to be remote.
The on-site Panera has
Yes.
seen a cratering of its revenue. They're going to sue us for breach of contract.
I mean, like, and there's also the possibility that like they're leaking this now because there's a more damning revelation coming that's going to be leaked to someone who's the cat's paw of another intelligence agency. I mean, like
Wheels within wheels.
I'm just going to skip to the end of this news piece. It says, still the report marks a significant change of tone from the Biden administration, which has made a point of demonstrating that it is taking the incidents more seriously than the Trump administration did, and has repeatedly emphasized the need to take victims seriously. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, in comments on MSNBC last week, recalled having met with State Department employees who have come forward reporting incidents. I've heard them. I've listened to them. You can't help but be struck by how these incidents disrupted their lives and their well-being, Blinken said. We're doing everything we can to care for them. I love like what a bullshit statement that is. Like, you can't help but be struck by how these incidents disrupted their lives and well-being. I mean, he's not really saying like, oh, like we can't help but be struck about how they're all of them were warped by an invisible death ray.
No.
But he's just like, I heard them and they really
They're
are
valid.
upset. They
Yeah,
really
they're
are.
sad.
Yeah, they're sad. They're very
tummies
upset.
Genuinely hurt.
Yeah, he's really coming off like an administrator at Oberlin here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no,
Sorry
no,
about the
yeah.
bond me.
Yeah.
We will do better.
Ramen
We hear
day.
how upset you are.
Yeah, ramen day in the cafeteria was a painful time for everyone. Yeah.
I do think though, if I don't think this is the last we've heard of Havana syndrome, especially if we do go to war with Russia over the Ukraine. I feel like afterwards, Havana syndrome is going to be like the sinking of the Lusitania to like explain why the hell we did that idiotic thing to fight with fucking Russia over fucking Ukraine. It's like, no, they were microwaving the brains of our precious operators.
Yeah.
Not even our operators, though. Like
No, they're all
the
operators.
office operators.
No, those are operators.
Yeah.
If you have a lanyard and you have a clearance, you're an operator because you are in the shadow war.
Yeah.
You're fighting in the mindscape in space.
You know, some guys they fight with a gun. Some guys are email warriors. That's kind of scarier because you can, if you're a veteran, you don't have to be around guns your entire life, right? You probably are for just whatever reason because, like, what else are you going to do? You made the government give you a dog so you don't scare your wife. You did all this shit. But you can't stop emailing.
Can't stop emailing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Overeaters Anonymous. Like, that's a tough one because you can't go cold turkey.
Yeah. And there's going to be, I bet there's like a Chris Kyle of the CIA. He sent the most emails. Got the most.
Got the most replies to
Yeah,
the
he
email.
got the most kills from those emails.
He even would email people he didn't even have to just so that he could get the record for most emails.
Yeah.
He would. He has several elementary school age pen pals that he emailed as well.
He went to the East Coast after Hurricane Sandy and was just freelance, like emailing people, emailing looters.
Yep.
And he's gonna die, you know, because he's gonna take like a group of other
traumatized
CIA
email people.
And be like, we're going to the range to get to inbox 0. And one of them just he's gonna freak out. A guy with carpal tunnel syndrome.
No. It's like
out.
a guy with carpal tunnel syndrome will hear the Slack update noise and then just freak out and shoot 6 people.
Yeah. They'll be like, goodbye, American emailer. We love you.
American emailer. Just last paragraph of this NBC news report. It says here, U.S. officials said the CIA report does not change the Biden administration's broader approach to Havana syndrome, including the emphasis on eliminating stigma, encouraging employees with suspected incidents to come forward, and ensuring proper medical care for those affected. Okay, well, they got the health care. I think, but like, I think this is cap. This is all about, they're like, we're like actively doing the opposite of encouraging you to come forward. We've removed the stigma. We've given you the bullshit healthcare that no one else has in America.
Fucking work.
Yeah, just get back to fucking work. Do your goddamn jobs.
Yeah. I have to say, now that I know that they're removing the stigma, I will start paying my taxes again. That's what was keeping me from doing it.